I was happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and like I told y'all weeks ago, a couple of months ago, it just seems like Brandon Aiyuk cannot go a whole 2 weeks without somehow getting himself into the breaking news section of the NFL world. So now apparently 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade, and the Commanders have been named as a top 2 likely spot. Is it worth it? All of that type of stuff. You already know we're going to do a big deep dive on Brandon Aiyuk, and we're mostly going to look at it from the viewpoint of like why the 49ers would even bother, who has the real leverage here, and is it worth it for the Commanders to do it. And we also got to take a look at how good Brandon Aiyuk actually is and why this even matters. If this was just some anybody receiver, it wouldn't get this much notoriety. So we're going to dive into all that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Again, I'm keeping y'all updated with anything that has to do with the Commanders. Even though Brandon Aiyuk is not being traded to the Commanders right now, if ever, just because the Commanders are attached to the situation, I have y'all updated on this and any other piece of news that are even somewhat relevant to the Commanders. And of course, I'm gonna keep y'all updated throughout the entire training camp, every practice that we have access to, that we as fans get to know what happened, get to see what happened. I will provide y'all those clips and do breakdowns for every player of every position group and even the coaching staff, including even special teams. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that content. Without further ado, let's go and dive into the video. Let's get it. Adam. Alright, so Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade. Jeremy Fowler tweeted, source on Brandon Aiyuk contract impasse. Quote, Aiyuk wants to be traded or paid, and San Francisco doesn't want to pay him or trade him, unquote. At least pay him relative to market value what he wants. And so right now we are at an impasse because Brandon Aiyuk either wants to get paid or be traded, and again, San Francisco doesn't want to pay him or trade him. So right now they can't agree on anything at all right now. And of course, nobody's shocked. Everybody's even sarcastically saying like, wow, who would have guessed? And I'm not gonna lie, if anything, I'm surprised that it took this long. The only thing I'm shocked about is that it took this long for him to actually go and request a trade. I mean, my first reaction when I first saw the notification like an hour ago was honestly, wait, he didn't already request a trade? Like, I've been so done with this situation that I didn't even notice that he has never requested a trade yet. Like, I thought that was been in the works, been put out there, trade me. I completely missed the fact that he didn't already. It already feels like he has, with all of the time he spent with Jaden Daniels and the FaceTime that he uploaded saying that they don't want me and all of these different type of things, bringing Jaden Daniels to his interview with The Pivot with Ryan Clark and those guys, all of the extra drama that he's been and attention he's been bringing to himself. It's amazing that just now he's requested a trade. People typically request a trade and then do all of that. That guy did all of that before he even requested the trade. And then Mike Garafolo also brings up a good point with his sourcing and report. He said that despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectively asked out at this point. And just to let you know, I'm assuming that this is going to take at least a first round pick. If it even happens, if anybody even ends up trading for this guy, it's going to take a first round pick. And shouts out to Ian Hartitz for pointing this out, because he said that key note here, Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade. He did not demand one. And that is an important distinction right there. That is a big difference. You can request a trade and you can demand one. Those are two completely separate things. And again, just to reemphasize it, he has only requested a trade. This is kind of like a light heart jab instead of like a full-blown charged up uppercut version of a trade type of situation. So just to let you know, keep that in mind. And throughout this entire video, when we're talking about this whole situation, how it's relevant to the Commanders, how good Brandon Aiyuk is, what his price could potentially be, his top landing spots, just remember that this guy requested a trade, like politely tapped him on the shoulder. Can you please trade me? Not trade me right now, kick down the door and demanded it, you know, type of thing. It's a complete difference. Also, It's really worth noting that Deebo Samuel requested for a trade before he ended up signing an extension with the San Francisco 49ers to stay there long term. But at the same time, the 49ers had a lot more money to give receivers before they paid Deebo Samuel. After paying Deebo Samuel, it's way less money available for Brandon Aiyuk. So it's kind of give or take here. And they also have to worry about paying Brock Purdy eventually, on top of a lot of other players, but they're currently struggling with cap space right now, and they have to pay Brock Purdy money, big time money, eventually, sometime down the road within the next couple of years. And just remember, again, they're struggling with cap space right now. Brock Purdy's on a 7th round rookie deal. He's getting paid pennies. We have undrafted free agents, I believe, we're paying more money than what Brock Purdy's getting right now. I could be wrong, but it's in the same ballpark. And you know, quarterbacks get the most money in the NFL. So when they do have to pay him, they're going to have to cough up a lot of money. And so they're already struggling right now. I don't know what they're going to do when it's time to pay for Brock Purdy. And I'm already assuming that they're going to give him some type of market setting money. And I'm assuming that the 49ers are thinking that far. And that's more than likely why they are trying to save money right now. And probably lowballing Brandon Aiyuk, not necessarily because they feel like he's not worth more money or whatever the money that he's asking for. It's more so, what do you want us to do? We pay you, then how are we going to keep the quarterback that's throwing you the ball and keeping you happy? We're just going to have to let him walk and try to go get another quarterback, and you're just okay with being rich but losing? Like, it's just an ugly situation when you're trying to manage teams in these cap space environments. So, you know, a lot of leagues out there, especially some soccer leagues, don't really have a cap space. Then you have the NBA that kind of has like a loose one where you can just pay the luxury tax. Football, NFL specifically, American football, has one of the most strict cap space environments out of any professional sports league in the world. And so it's really not much you can do. They're in peculiar situations. The 49ers know, yeah, Brandon Aiyuk, I know you deserve more money, but we literally just can't give it to you right now. We may have it right now, but we know within a year or two, we're definitely not going to have it when we have to pay all of these other guys, most notably Brock Purdy, the quarterback who's keeping you happy and throwing you the ball, and the reason why you're able to put up these stats. But I'm pretty sure they've made that message very clear, real clear to Brandon Aiyuk, and he probably doesn't care. He's probably looking at them like, not my problem. Y'all are the GMs. Y'all get paid to figure out cap space. I get paid to go out there and catch passes and score touchdowns. That's my job. And honestly, with good reason. That's a good mentality to have. I know a lot of y'all saw it. I do not understand why Jalen Brunson took that huge, $100 million pay cut for the Knicks to be able to go out and pay other guys to build a better team around them. If I'm his family, I'm sick to my stomach. Like, people take pay cuts and lose all of the time. Not everybody's Tom Brady, man. And just to throw this in there, I also want to add, going back to the fact that Deebo Samuel requested a trade and ended up signing a long-term contract with the 49ers. Robbie Gould did the same thing as well and ended up getting a contract done with the 49ers in the past. He requested a trade and then they ended up keeping him. So maybe that's what it takes to get a contract with the 49ers. Request a trade. They're like, oh, wait, this guy clearly wants to get paid by showing us that he's willing to get traded to get paid. He's either pay him or trade me type of situation. And then maybe the 49ers take them seriously. Who knows? I'm pretty sure it's not that cut and dry, but it's really interesting. Also, it's worth noting that he did not want to request a trade throughout this entire process. I mean, if you really sit back and think about it, it took until today for him to actually request a trade. We typically find out receivers want to be traded the moment that they request that trade. But we've been hearing about Brandon Aiyuk wanting to be traded for months now, and it seems like he's finally just basically done had it. It actually wants to be traded for real right now. But again, mind you, he did not demand a trade. He only requested it. But maybe he's noticed that the 49ers are just not budging on their number offer, and so all of the other trade rumors and stuff was more of like a negotiation tactic from his side to basically increase his leverage, at least attempt to, and then be able to, ultimately his main goal is to get more money to stay with the 49ers. But now, as of today, seems like he's actually quite serious about getting traded. Seems like he's finally reached like a boiling point or something. That's what I'm just assuming. I'm just throwing those ideas out there. Also, I feel like we really need to look at the fact that the 49ers have refused to engage in number talks and negotiations since May. Again, I pointed out the fact that Mike Garafolo tweeted that and included that in his update that he gave when he reported on the situation. Remember what I read a few minutes ago, quote, despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectfully asked out. Again, I really want to emphasize that because I feel like a lot of people probably really missed that important detail right there. So with all of these meetings that they've had, all of these times that the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk have met over the past few months, the 49ers have refused to budge on the number even a little bit so far. Like, they haven't even changed their number. Every time they talk, he's like, I want this, and they just stuck with the same exact number this entire time. They're not even willing to go back and forth and listen to numbers. They're basically just sitting like, are you coming to training camp or not? That's what it seems like, the type of time that they're on right now, and that's crazy because I thought with all of the meetings that they were having that there had to have been some type of give and pull, give or take or something, push and pull on this somewhere where like maybe the 49ers are budging a little bit but maybe not enough. No, it sounds like they are firmly 10 toes down and not moving at all. Whatever money they were offering him months ago it seems like that's the same exact dollar they're offering him right now and haven't changed a bit, even with all of the antics that he's had going on right now, which is actually pretty crazy. Also, shouts out to Craig Hoffman for pointing this out. Asking for a trade does not necessarily guarantee that it will be granted, but the fact that this is out there is definitely very interesting. This is definitely a next step in whatever process, whatever strategy Brandon Aiyuk has going on right now. This is definitely a major step forward. And also, shouts out to Mark T. Willard for pointing this out with the Brandon Aiyuk trade prospect situation. He said, quote, everybody has to remember that Brandon does not have leverage here. He's under contract. The 49ers have floated the idea of a franchise tag. He's in a real tough spot, and I completely agree. The 49ers definitely have the leverage right now. They're definitely winning the battle right now. And another reason why the 49ers have leverage is because even though Brandon Aiyuk is elite, they are built to win even without him. But even beyond that, what's he going to do? Not play this year? Boycott this entire NFL season to the point that his contract accrues into the next season and he's still with the 49ers anyway? So you have to play this year. You may be a disgruntled employee, but you better play this year if you want to be a free agent in 2025 to finally be able to leave on your own free will and be able to go where you want to go and get whatever money you want to get. I mean, because honestly, worst case scenario for the 49ers, he leaves in free agency, and at worst, they get a third round comp pick for him and don't have to pay him. And that's where the trade talks start, because at worst, they're going to get a really high third round comp pick for him. So you need to come with at least a second or first round pick when you're talking about trade talks. But again, worst case scenario for them, comp pick, and then they get to save some money by not having to pay him long term. Now, of course, you like to keep your star receiver, but teams are choosing to draft receivers over paying quarterback money for them a lot of the time now. I know these past couple of months, a lot of wide receivers have gotten big time money, like Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, a couple of those guys out there. But a lot of other teams is just being like, man, you can leave. We'll just find a guy to replace you with in the first round of this upcoming draft. Maybe even the second or third round, how it's been going. I mean, wide receivers have been hitting out of the draft at a pretty high clip, like a pretty nice percentage lately, and that's not helping these veteran wide receivers when it comes to contract negotiations. Yeah, when you're coming out of the draft, you love it. Hey man, draft me instead of paying that old head. I'll do his job. Then when you're in that guy's shoes and you're the veteran that's trying to get paid, you're upset about the fact that the team is going to do the same thing that they did to that guy with you against you. It's a vicious cycle, I'm not gonna lie. And then also, even worse leverage wise for Aiyuk, even if the 49ers are okay with trading them, just say that they are, even though I just highly doubt it right now. I take their word for it, the fact that they don't plan on trading them at all right now. But what's forcing them to trade them even to a team that he wants to go to? Like, what's stopping them from trading them to a team that offers the most in a trade? If it's not the Commanders or Steelers or even a Super Bowl contender, or at least a good team, what's stopping them from trading him to just anybody, whoever's willing to give the most up for him, somewhere where he would end up going and not being happy? Maybe he would get the money that he wants, but he'll end up on a team that he doesn't even want to be on. What's stopping the 49ers from doing that? So right now, Brandon Aiyuk has a lot more worries on his mind than the 49ers have right now. And also, shouts out to Benjamin Solak for pointing this out, and I completely agree. He said likely result, he ends up on the Steelers or Commanders, but also wouldn't be surprised by the Jets, Patriots, or Broncos. Keep the Patriots in mind, because it's really interesting. Even when I first saw that tweet, and I wanted to make sure I included that in this video, there's a report about the Patriots inquiring on Brandon Aiyuk. That's going to come towards the end of the video, though. But I do want to remind y'all that it does seem like the Steelers and the Commanders right now are the two leading candidates for if Brandon Aiyuk were to get traded. Big if. We seem like the two most likely landing spots. And that top two, I mean, makes a lot of sense just because, first of all, those are literally the two teams that he said he wanted to be traded to if he were to be traded. He said it himself, Commanders or Steelers. So it only makes sense for us to be the top two options and top two destinations for him when you're just talking about potential trade options and things like that. But we, as in the Commanders, have way more connections to Brandon Aiyuk than the Steelers do. Even just beyond having his best friend for life here in second overall pick rookie franchise quarterback Jaden Daniels. You also have Adam Peters and Anthony Lynn here as well, and even like the McCaffrey family connection over here too. We have way stronger ties to Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers than the Steelers do, and you've seen Aiyuk involve Jaden Daniels at every turn of this contract drama over the last few months. The most recent one, though, I'm not gonna lie, made me pretty upset, and also just straight up like made me not even just want to deal with him at all at a certain point after he showed that picture of our practice film or whatever. And it wasn't even because teams could use that picture against us at all. Again, I did like a whole X's and O's breakdown as to why that picture really doesn't give us that much information, but I tried to reach as far as I could, but it wasn't really anything very useful from it at the end of the day. The reason I was really upset about the situation is because Jaden Daniels more than likely got in trouble from that. And so why would you even put your best friend in that situation? So this whole Brandon Aiyuk situation after that, I was just like, yeah, I'm pretty much done with it. But now that he's requesting a trade, things are getting a little bit more interesting. And shouts out to B Mitch for his opinion on this, because he said, quote, "No, you don't call and make them an offer. You wait for them to call you. You call now, it makes you look desperate," unquote. And I can see the logic there, but I don't think that it necessarily applies here in this situation. Maybe in other situations, but you got to remember, again, going back to the strong connections we have to the 49ers, Adam Peters and John Lynch know each other too well for us to play mind games like that. Like, they already know if we want him, if we actually want to. John Lynch knows Adam Peters way better than any of us fans do. And Adam Peters clearly likes Brandon Aiyuk. He played a pretty big role in the 49ers even drafting him in the first place. But even beyond all of that, again, what's his price in a trade? We've asked this and talked about this pretty much every video we've talked about Brandon Aiyuk. And are the Commanders even willing to reach that price in general? I doubt it. So it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, we can play these mind games and play hard to get and force them to call us so that the price isn't as high because we don't seem as desperate, but I don't think that's really applies in this situation. Do we even want them that bad? And again, John Lynch and Adam Peters know each other like the back of their hands, man. They're not fooling each other at all. So I'm pretty sure whatever side we're on, if we do want them, if we don't want them, John Lynch knows that and probably already has a price centered around what they're expecting from Brandon Aiyuk outside of even the Adam Peters connection. They probably just have a certain price that they're asking from every team. I don't think we're going to necessarily get some type of discount or some extra price added on just because we seem desperate. I don't think it's any type of situation like that. And then even if the 49ers were willing to give us a discount on the trade price, I'm pretty sure the contract price that he wants after you trade for him itself is already crazy. I mean, let's take a look at the top receivers as far as money goes, average per year, annual contract value. You have Justin Jefferson at $35 million per year, AJ Brown at $32 million per year, Amon-Ra St. Brown at $30, Tyreek Hill at 30, but just right below Amon-Ra St. Brown by literally just 2.5 thousand, really close though. Then you have Jalen Waddle making $28.25 million, and the fact that the Dolphins are paying two receivers top 5 receiver money in the NFL shows that, hey, if the 49ers really want to get it done, they can find a way to pay Debo and Brandon Aiyuk and make that happen as well. Then you have Devontae Adams, who's 6th on the list, making $28 million a year. Then Cooper Kupp under that at 26.7. Devonta Smith right under that at 25. So you also have the Eagles, who have 2 top 8 receivers as far as annual value money. So it's possible if you really want to get it done. But my point is that you're gonna have to pay him somewhere in the upper 20 something millions for sure, or maybe even low 30 millions if you're talking about where he feels like he's at as far as like in comparison to his peers and what his actual market value is and things like that. So even though the money doesn't make a lot of sense for us at either way, and even on top of that, the trade price that we'd have to give up, and even on top of that, I also don't feel like we're just a Brandon Aiyuk away from being true Super Bowl contenders just yet. Like, we just know for a fact, you trade for Brandon Aiyuk, we are strong Super Bowl contenders. But even beyond all of that, I do want to remind y'all how good this guy is and why he is potentially asking for that top receiver money. First of all, Pro Football Focus graded him as the 2nd best receiver out of the entire NFL. The entire NFL in the 2023 season with a 91.5 grade. And again, the second highest, the only person ahead of him was Tyreek Hill. He's ahead of Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Puka Nacua, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel, his own teammate, Jamar Chase. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Literally, out of the entire NFL, he's ranked above everybody except for Tyreek Hill. And they even explained it with their rankings. They said the 49ers top wide receiver in 2023, Aiyuk was one of the only 3 wide receivers to average more than 3 yards per route run in the regular season, with his 3.01 mark ranking 3rd at the position. He finished the year with just 2 drops from 86 catchable targets. I'm just trying to explain to you why this guy is demanding this much money, because he is that good. And then Pro Football Focus even did it a different way. They had him ranked as the 2nd best receiver from the 2023 season, but how do they feel about the receivers and how they rank them going into the 2024 season? Well, at that point, they have him ranked 8th, which is lower, but still an elite wide receiver. They said a devastating route runner, an explosive threat. Brandon Aiyuk is one of the most efficient receivers in the game, whose overall numbers are held back by only the offense he plays in and the sheer quantity of other options within it. Passes thrown his way last season generated a 126.8 passer rating. So they basically feel like this guy is so efficient and so great that his numbers don't even do him justice, because there's just so many other offensive weapons. Kyle Shanahan likes to run the ball a lot, so if he were to go to a different team, he would probably put up even way better numbers than he's already doing already. But just to let you know, the only receivers that they have ranked above him as far as going into the 2024 season are Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Justin Jefferson. That's the type of company that he's basically in, is my point. But just in case if y'all don't believe Pro Football Focus, y'all don't like their analysis, you don't like their grades, whatever, well then how about you look at this on the screen right now? Shouts out to Matt Harmon at @MattHarmon_BYB. This is absolutely ridiculous, man, because his 2023 reception perception profile is insane. He's 96th percentile in success rate versus man. He's 91st percentile in success rate versus zone. And he's 97th percentile in success rate versus press. And you also see how successful he is depending on different routes. It's absolutely insane. Green everywhere. He's unstoppable. You can't game plan against him as a defensive coordinator, because if you take away 8 of these routes, the 9th one's going to open up. You take away 7, the other 2, he's going to be open. He's just so efficient in everything that he does. What can you honestly do to game plan against a guy like that? And one last thing before we go, just to let you know, BR Gridiron just tweeted, other teams have shown interest in trading for Brandon Aiyuk per Adam Schefter. So this is actually an Adam Schefter report. The 49ers want to keep him and have no intention of trading him at this time, but other teams are calling and showing interest and at least inquiring about what the price may be. So when I saw that, I thought 3 things immediately. Number 1, even if we were to somehow end up trading for him, I doubt it would be anytime soon, because again, the 49ers as of right now have no intention of trading him away, and I believe them. I definitely believe that report. And then 2, other teams are trying to trade for him. So that makes it even less likely for us to get them, just because percentages wise, that goes down every team that you add into the mix. Every team that's added in decreases the chances of us getting them just off of just plain statistical math. And then lastly, speaking of adding a team in there, the more teams that you add into this equation, in this situation, the more teams that get involved, the higher the price is going up. Teams are now basically getting to a point where I'm pretty sure, or at least will get to some point where they're outbidding each other. And each offer from a team is probably just getting richer and richer in value for the 49ers, and the Commanders may not even be willing to try and play that game with other teams in the 49ers. Like, hey man, this is my price. This is what I'm willing to give you. If another team is willing to give way more than that, then so be it. Go ahead. We would like to have them, but we're not about to go ahead and sell the farm for this guy type of situation. So it's already looking ugly from our end for several reasons, like I just explained. And also remember, there was a report though from a little minute ago that the Commanders did at least inquire about Brandon Aiyuk, so we'll see what happens. There's definitive interest there, but how much? Is it enough for them to deal with all of the stuff that I just laid out to you, with being outbid by other teams, the asking price from the 49ers, having to pay Brandon Aiyuk whatever money he's potentially asking for from the 49ers? We still don't even exactly know like the exact price that he's asking for, but it must be already too much. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, Josina Anderson tweeted after everything just went down like an hour ago. More recently though, just a few minutes ago, I'm told within the last couple of weeks that the Patriots have reached out to the 49ers inquiring about Brandon Aiyuk again, and we're told the talented wide receiver was not being traded at this time. It seems like everybody that is talked about and tweeted about this Brandon Aiyuk requesting a trade situation, no matter what the discussion is and what the topic is centered around, if Brandon Aiyuk is involved, it seems like every tweet is ended with the 49ers have no plans of trading them at this time. So again, I think that's pretty serious, but it is interesting that the Patriots are showing interest there. They do need receivers bad. They just took Drake May 3rd overall. He doesn't really have a lot of receivers to throw to right now, and so that makes a lot of sense. But is Brandon Aiyuk even willing to go to a team that looks like that bad right now? The Commanders definitely look like the better team between the two, and of course his best friend in Jaden Daniels is here versus Drake May, who's pretty much a stranger to him at the quarterback position. And again, just goes back to my point. If the Patriots offer the 49ers more than what the Commanders are offering, we're stopping the 49ers from sending Brandon Aiyuk over there. So he's just in a really ugly situation right now. But hey, man, he's getting things kickstarted by finally actually requesting a trade, which I thought been happened. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Again, I really appreciate y'all staying patient with me because I really want to get to these comment sections, but I just have not had the time. But please let me know how you feel about this entire situation. Do you agree or disagree with any of my points? Let me know if you have any additional points that I didn't bring up in this video. I'd really appreciate any constructive criticism, anything. I'd appreciate all of it. So let me know in the comment section how you feel about this whole situation, and make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like, and also be on the lookout for more videos. I'm trying my best to come out with at least a video a day, and I'm really trying to stick to that. So stay tuned, and I got y'all covered leading all the way up to training camp, and then y'all know for sure I got y'all covered the entire training camp, preseason, regular season. I'm speaking it into existence, postseason as well. Live streams, all of that, breakdowns, analysis, film sessions. Stay tuned. Really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.